I notice you and Professor Fig seem to have developed a friendship. I hope he isn't getting you into too much trouble. Fig was a close colleague and a dear friend. I only hope we can serve his memory well. I could do with a cup of tea and a conversation on magical theory with Professor Fig. Brilliant wizard. Such a loss to our school and to wizard kind. Professor Fig was a good friend and a gifted scholar.
I hope you know better than to let Professor Fig take you on one of his foolhardy adventures. I'm very sorry to hear of Professor Fig's passing.
Professor Fig should keep a better eye on you.
Professor Fig was a man of conviction. He will be missed.
Shame about Professor Fig.
Hogwarts won't be the same without Professor Fig.
Professor Fig's magical theory class may appeal to some, but I find facts to be the most useful content to master. Who's going to teach Professor Fig's class now that he's gone? Not I.
I hope Professor Fig isn't keeping you from your studies. Just what are you up to, Eleazar? Oh, Eleazar, at least you'll be with Miriam now.
You seem to have found a mentor in Professor Fig. I'm sure he has much to teach you. I'm terribly sorry about Professor Fig. He was an extraordinary wizard and friend. I know you were quite close with Professor Fig. Oh, Eleazar, if you'd have only come to me sooner.
Professor Fig was always so kind to me, and to all of his students. I shall miss speaking with him about magical theory and herbology. What a brilliant mind.
Professor Fig seems consumed by his research. It is a wonder he has time left to teach. The aura of our school has darkened since Professor Fig's passing.
Terribly unfortunate about Fig, truly. But now we must move on, learn from his mistakes.
What a tragedy. Professor Fig was a good man.
Difficult to carry on without Professor Fig. But carry on we must.
I shall honour Professor Fig's sacrifice by looking after this school to the highest degree.
Fig had hoped Professor Fig would be around for much, much longer.
Off to see Professor Fig? Ferdinand tells us the two of you are quite close. Poor thing. Was always stuck to Fig like a shadow.
Unfortunate news about Professor Fig. He was certainly a man of conviction.
Your mentor is a peculiar one, isn't he? I'm terribly sorry about your mentor, Professor Fig, though his fate had been sealed for quite some time.
I see that you and Professor Fig are close. You must be learning a lot from him. It is one of the hardest things to lose a teacher. Professor Fig was a brilliant man.
Must be nice to have a mentor like Professor Fig. Professor Fig is a bit of an enigma.
Since you seem very close, my mother and I were wondering, what does Professor Fig teach?
Professor Fig died a hero. Nothing more honourable than that.
Did you know that Fig and his partner used to be world travellers? About Professor Fig. Well, I know the two of you were close. I'm so sorry.
Fig has taken a liking to you. I've tried asking about his subject before, but he was always too busy. I'm sorry about Fig. He was fortunate to have you.
I can't believe Fig's gone. Never even got to speak with him. Why do such awful things happen?
Professor Fig has some strange beliefs about magic, if you ask me. Professor Fig died defending our school. Doesn't get more noble than that.
I do wonder about Professor Fig. He's hardly ever in his classroom. Most strange. I hope wherever Fig is now that he's at least with his wife.
Poor old Professor Fig. I feel as if I hardly knew him.
Tragic about Professor Fig.
You're quite close to Professor Fig, aren't you? I've always wondered about him. Never see him actually teaching. I suppose it's a good thing Professor Fig wasn't teaching any classes.
Sad what happened to Professor Fig.
I'll miss seeing Professor Fig around. He always knew how to irk Aunt Matilda.
Professor Fig? Killed right here in the castle.
Always liked Professor Fig. Never once gave me a detention.
Professor Fig may be gone, but we'll never forget him.
I can't believe Professor Fig's gone. That he gave his life as he did.
Such a pity. I never even got to speak to Professor Fig.
It's a wonder Professor Fig has time to teach a class at all. He never seems to be in the castle. Can't imagine how the other professors must be feeling after losing Professor Fig.
Awful end to the year. I never had the chance to take Fig's class. He did teach one, didn't he?
Poor Professor Fig. To think Hogwarts was supposed to be safe.
The memory of Professor Fig will live on with all of us.
Eleazar Fig was an odd fellow, but a kind man. He died honourably. Eleazar Fig is the kind of professor one rarely comes to meet. You have my deepest condolences.
I heard that you lost your professor to a terrible accident. My deepest condolences. Losing someone is always difficult. I'm truly sorry about Professor Fig.
Poor Professor Fig. Such a shame. I was told that your professor died. My condolences.
As of late, you're always with Professor Fig.
Next time I see Fig or that student, I'll give them what they deserve. If only I could get my hands on Fig or that student.
Why in the world do I always see you with Professor Fig? I'd stay far away from that man if it was me. It's a shame about Professor Fig. I didn't really know him myself, but still, I'm very sorry. How is it that Professor Fig always seems to be away? I keep hoping that Professor Fig isn't dead after all, that somehow he managed to survive.
Never quite sure about Professor Fig. I can't believe he's gone.
Professor Fig will be sorely missed. Apparently, Fig teaches comparative magic. What is that exactly?
I'm so sorry. Professor Fig was a good man. I haven't seen Professor Fig in a while now. I hope he's all right. Professor Fig seemed so unshakable. I can't believe he's gone.
Professor Fig must have some fascinating stories for you to spend so much time with him.
I'm sorry to hear about Professor Fig. I never even got to take his class. Never knew Fig well, but it sounds as if he was a remarkable man.
Rumours are swirling about what you and Professor Fig could be up to. I suppose no one feels the loss of Professor Fig as deeply as you. I'm so sorry.
To think, I just saw Fig a few days ago.
You and Fig seem quite close. Is he tutoring you? Professor Fig was a true teacher. He'll be sorely missed.
I know that Fig teaches magical theory, but theoretically, does anyone take it? Poor Professor Fig. I didn't know him well, but he always greeted me kindly in the halls.
Why would you want to spend so much time with Fig? Do you feel sorry for him? Professor Fig was a good teacher, though I'm not quite sure what he taught.
Are you doing some sort of extracurricular work for Fig? I'm sorry about Professor Fig. I know you two are really close.
Is Fig trying to get you to work for him or something? I never minded Fig. He was one of the good ones.
I can't believe Fig's so interesting that you have to spend so much time with him. Puts me to sleep.
You must be sad about Fig. I know you spent a lot of time with him. I don't know what to say, really. I really should ask Professor Fig about his class. Pity about Professor Fig.